Aloha artists, Miss Maggie here. Last week we made our beautiful Honu habitat, and this week we are going to draw, color, and cut out a Honu to add to its habitat. And so these are the supplies that you're going to need for today's project. First of all, you are going to need your habitat painting from last week. This beautiful artwork that expresses the Honu's habitat. Get that, and you will also need a small drawing paper. This is the paper that is smoother than the paper we used last week. And you will need a pencil, an eraser, a Sharpie, and we are going to do oil pastels today, and we are going to be cutting out and gluing our Honu. And finally, it is very useful to have a paper towel on hand when you are doing oil pastels. So these are the supplies that you are going to need today. You're going to want to get your artwork from last time: small drawing paper, pencil, eraser, Sharpie, glue and scissors, oil pastel, paper towel. Go get those and meet me right back here. Now, before we jump into drawing, let's look at some of that video footage from last week. Let's notice again what the Honu's habitat looked like, but especially what is the Honu doing? You can get ideas for your own artwork about how you want to create and express your Hawaiian green sea turtle. Look closely. Are there any moments where you see a detail that's like, ooh, I want to do that? It's quite beautiful under there, isn't it? Anytime you draw an animal, you can look for the shapes that make up that animal. And so that's what we're going to do with our Honu. And when you see a Honu swimming, you notice that it is in motion. Some of it moves more than other parts. For instance, those front flippers move quite a bit. So you can decide if the flippers will be up or down. And I have two different stills from that little video that I can look at for ideas, and you can look at them too. Let's get your small drawing paper, and I have it horizontal, long ways here, just like these pictures, so that I can draw my Honu in here. And I want my Honu pretty good size because it is going to be in the foreground while everything else in my artwork is farther away. Like that Honu there is off in the distance, right? This Honu is going to be popping right up out of the picture. So it could be even bigger than that one that I did. So let's see, what shape shall we start with? How about the shell? Do you see how the shell is pointed over here and then it's rounded-ish over here in this picture too? And so it's not a perfect point, but it's sort of like a teardrop on its side. I'm going to draw the shell first. So if your Honu is swimming this way, like mine, it's going to be pointed-ish on that side. And then it's going to be thicker over here, but rounded, and then come back to that spot. See how I'm sketching? That's because the first line I draw might not be exactly the line that I want, but if I keep making little light marks, I can start to get the line that I do want. Okay, now what's next? How about the head? Where is your Honu going to be looking? Is it going to be looking down? It's going to be looking up? You get to decide. The head is going to be an oval. I'm going to make my Honu looking up. And so that oval there, it's not quite touching the front of the shell. It's going to be close to it. but I'm drawing it oval there and getting it how I want it. And then I'm going to draw two little lines for the neck. And sometimes you can see more of that neck, sometimes you can see less. But there is my Honu's neck and head. Okay, well, let's get in the rest of the shapes before we start working on little details like the face. Get everything in there and then work on the little details. How about those back fins? I see that it is straight here, and then it's like it has a bunch of toes. It looks like a wavy line heading to the back, and it ends a little bit before the point. And it starts a little bit over this way, and that's that diagonal line going down. And then I see that it goes bump, bump, wavy, wavy, wavy. That's what I saw. How about you? The other fin, well, it's not really that skinny. It is just being seen from the side. Like, see my hand here? You can see the whole hand. But if I go like this, you can't see the whole hand. It looks skinny, right? That's what's happening for that other fin. So I see that I'm seeing it from across the body. There's a little bit coming down like this, and then it still has the fins underneath, those bumps underneath. There we go. And Honu have tails. Ooh, I can see the tail in that picture there. So I'll put that in. This one, I think I looked at a picture, I couldn't really see it. Male Honus, boy Honus, have larger tails than the female. So sometimes you notice the tails more than other times, but I'll put a tail in there. It's up to you. Now, how about those front fins? Now, what is your Honu doing? Are the fins down or are they up? If it's swimming, that's the part that moves the most. You can decide how you want yours. When the fins are down, it's hard to see the fin in the back. It might be hiding behind the shell. I'm going to do one where the fin is up a little bit. And so I'm going to make it so that this curves down. Got a diagonal there, and then has some bumps on the way back to the shoulder. And since this one's out, the other fin is out. If one fin is down, they're both down because it swims like this. So this one's going to need to be out a little bit too. Okay, let's get to those awesome details such as the face. Honu eyes, they tend to be pretty far forward on the head, pretty close to the front. And a lot of times I see them as sort of little half circles like that. And then you've got the pupil, the dark part of the eye. And their mouths tend to be like little beaks. You can't see much of it, but there's a little bit there, and maybe a little bit of a nostril there. There we go. And what I really notice are all those beautiful details on the face. A lot of times there's some dark marks below the eyes. I'm just sort of marking some ideas to remember for when I color. I'm going to take out that guideline that I had there because really there's wrinkles in the neck there instead. So where else are there details that you think your Honu should have? You can even look back at parts of the video with them swimming underwater and see, are there details that you think are important for yours? And one part I haven't done yet is the shell, right? The shell has Some amazing details. The shells also get covered in algae, so sometimes you can't see them all. But the shell is made out of these plates that are called scutes. And so different types of sea turtles have different numbers of scutes, and that's how they can tell them apart when they're young. But one thing I noticed about the Honu is that there's smaller scutes around the edge. So see how I'm drawing this line around here? And so that creates it so that there's like this outline part. And so see those lines there? Bloop, 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 bloop. I'm going to do those. And then I'm seeing, well, what other lines do I see here? I see them in both of these. I see this big line coming up, it curves, then it goes back down the shell. Then I see another one here, going back down the shell. And I don't see too much of it over there, but I can tell it's kind of there a little bit. And then these are broken up into pieces too. And I didn't put in every detail because with this Honu, it is covered with algae a bit. There's a lot of algae in their habitat. And they like eating algae, but it's hard to eat it off of your own back. However, there are fish that visit them and like to help clean their shell for them. So, I think my Honu is just about there. How about yours? Look one more time. Stop and look at your Honu. What else does it need? Find a detail to add. I'm going to make the shell clearer for where the tail is. That's what I'm going to do. What are you going to do on yours? Okay, once you have all of your details drawn, then we're going to Sharpie. If you put in very little tiny details in, maybe just leave those pencil. Because if I start coloring in every one of those dots, it's just going to end up being all Sharpie, right? We don't want that. But the main outlines, let's Sharpie them, okay? Remember, use just the tip. Be careful. Take your time. Okay, I've got my Sharpie done. Now I'm going to erase. But I didn't Sharpie every line, so I'm not going to erase every line. Erase the lines that you did Sharpie and take out the sketchy parts you don't need, but if there's parts you want to keep in there to remind you while you color, then you can leave those ones in. And if you Sharpied everything, then do erase everything. I think that's just about there. Great. So I've Sharpied mine. Great. So I've drawn my Honu. I've Sharpied it. It is time to color. Now, what color are green sea turtles? In this photo, it doesn't look very green, does it? If you look at this footage, it does look green. Why are those pictures different? What do you think is causing it? When there is sunlight, even in the ocean, it changes the colors of things, just like a cloudy day or a sunny day have different colors outside, right? And also, if the Honu is deeper or shallower, it'll have different colors in the water. Look at these pictures here. Decide what oil pastels you're going to use. Pick out every color that you see. I see this yellow-orange, but I also see greens, and there's definitely some brown areas in there, but I want to make it more interesting than just brown. I think some of those browns have some purple in them, and I have two purples in this set, so I'm going to use both purples. Are there any other colors that I want? Ooh, always have a white on hand. That's very useful. And are those all the colors that I see? I feel like this one, there's kind of some red-orange happening too. I'm going to get some orange. So I see all those colors. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of colors. Now, before you start coloring, look at your Honu. Where is it light? And where is it dark? Notice those different areas. Let's do the light areas first. And with light oil pastels, especially, you want to check and see, is that oil pastel dirty or is it clean? That one looks much better now. And so I'm going to put oil pastel in those light areas with the light colors. Everywhere that I see those light colors, I'm going to put it in. Take your time. Put in wherever you see light colors. Look at the photo and notice where the colors are light. I am going to use some greens inspired by the other video of the Honu because I like that too. But I am noticing where is it dark and where is it light. Ooh, I like that color in there. I am making sure that when I am done, I won't be able to see any paper inside my Honu. My oil pastels will be thick, and I will use the white to blend colors if I need to fill in some extra areas. This is coming together. How is yours? Okay, when you think you are done coloring your Honu, stop and look at it. Just like when we finished drawing, look at it. Is there anything else that it needs? I want a little purple right there. Yeah, that's what it needed. Okay, now I'm ready to cut it out. Are you ready to cut yours out? Finish your coloring and then get your scissors. This is a lot of cutting, isn't it? So let's come up with a plan. We want to cut out just as carefully as you drew. We want to make your beautiful artwork show up amazingly with the scissors. So let's make a plan. First plan is to cut out the main extra paper. Just cut off extra paper and don't go close to your Honu yet. See how I'm staying away, I'm going carefully, but I didn't have to worry about it too much. I can cut that part off there. I can cut this part off here. Oh, watch, I'm getting close to that fin. Let's cut like that. And then I'm going to go like that. And like that. See how I have just less paper to have to worry about now, right? Now, this time, I'm going to come in from the edge and I'm going to go to that black Sharpie line. And I'm going to cut slowly on that line. I want to be right like on the outside edge of it, if you can be that specific. And then when I get to a point where I have to have an angle, I turn my paper, and I'm actually turning my paper more than I'm turning my scissors. And I'm turning my paper so that I stay right on that Sharpie part. And when I start having a whole bunch hanging off the edge, then I get rid of that white. We don't want any of the white to stay on the Honu, but we don't want to cut off any of the Honu either. So this is an important thing to do slowly and carefully. Take your time. Don't have a conversation with a classmate or a little brother or sister at the same time. Just look closely and focus. Spot like that. Sometimes it's easier to take my scissors out, put them back in that spot, and go again. Okay. Keep taking your time. You saw how slowly I was going. Take all the time you need to follow that outside Sharpie line very carefully with your scissors. You can do this. Use your focus. Build that focusing muscle and the muscles in your hands while you're at it. Okay, there's my Honu. How's yours coming along? When you take your time and really focus, then your reward is that you have created something really beautiful. And each time you practice, it will get better and better. So let's see what it looks like when this Honu swims into its habitat. Isn't that amazing? Ooh, I can see just where I want it, like this, so I can still see the yellow tang, and the other Honu is like swimming in the background over its shoulder, and I can still see my cleaner wrasse down there. Now, we are not going to just glue this straight down. I'm going to show you how to make it pop up. This is so cool. Look at your paper scraps. I bet you have some sort of scrap like this or like this. Find your biggest scrap. And we want to turn that scrap into a strip. Like, see this one? It's kind of a strip already. And I have a strip like that. This one, it's kind of almost a triangle. So if I want it to be a strip, I want to cut it a little bit more like that. So both of these are strips. Neither of them are perfect, but both of them will work. So what do? We are going to turn our strip into a loop. And you need some glue for that. If you're going to use a glue stick, then take one end of it. You're going to put a lot of glue stick right there. If you're going to use white glue, just a tiny dot, okay? And then I'm going to take that part there and I'm going to wrap it around so that I have a loop. And I'm going to pinch that loop. I'm going to count slowly to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And if it's not sticking, a little more glue. Unless it's dripping glue, then less glue. And I'm going to decide, does that loop fit under my Honu shell? If it doesn't fit under your Honu shell, then trim it. Trim a little bit off. Like mine fits, but I could, if I needed to, take a little bit off like that, right? Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it to the back of my Honu. So how do I do that? I'm going to put some glue where I want the loop to stick. If it's a glue stick, lots. If it's white glue, just a drop. And then I'm going to take my loop and I'm going to press it down on there. I'm going to press on that spot. I'm going to count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, I've got mine on there. Now, important part. I see that my loop, it's hiding behind the Honu. That is perfect. I need to decide once and for all, where is my Honu going to go on my paper? Try out a couple different ideas before you decide on it. But I do like that first idea I had right there. So I need to put some glue on the back of my loop. It's a loop, so it's flimsy. I'm going to put some fingers inside the loop so that I can put the glue stick glue right on top of that. And then I'm going to put my Honu in the correct spot and put those fingers back inside the loop so that I am pressing down, pressing the back side of the loop to my artwork. And no one can see my loop, but I am pressing on it. And again, counting to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I think it's there. Oh my goodness, look at that. I have a Honu in my habitat. I can't wait to see how yours turn out. I hope that you make your artwork 3D as well. Okay, here is your reflection question. What does your Honu like best about the habitat that you created for it? Okay, I can't wait to hear all about it and make more art with you next week, but I bet we have a bit of a mess here. So make sure your cap goes back on your glue. All of your other extra pieces of paper that you cut off that didn't become the Honu or the loop, you can toss those out and put your oil pastels away. Take care of your napkin, toss it out if you're done with it, and I'll make more art with you next time. Ahui ho!